Hello, I am Dr. Tim, and this is Dr. Tim TV. Listen, today we're going to talk about something that I'm sure is rubbing the back of your skulls. And in a time when most of us are going through something at the hands of someone else, we want to talk about this subject and we want to hit it so that we can get some clarity as to what it is. Make sure we're doing it so that when we, in our performance, we can compel others to do the same thing. Today we're going to talk about loyalty. Loyalty, important subject. Before I get started, I want you to, if you like this video, you go on ahead and click the subscribe button, click the likes, show me that you're there, show me that you're listening, and also show YouTube and whatever other platform that you're on that you're paying attention. These are subjects that I'm talking about. It's stuff that we want to talk about, but the cares of life tend to get us all in a flux. And we can't seem to sit down and nail these things down. And because we don't nail them down, we go into relationships taking garbage from one person to another. So we want to start from here, and we want to ask the question, what is loyalty? What is loyalty? Well, let's give a textbook definition, and then we'll talk about what it really is from our perspective. Loyalty is a steadfast and principled commitment to a person, group, cause, or institution. It is characterized by faithfulness, allegiance, and a willingness to prioritize the interests of the other, often at a personal cost. Are you listening to me? This is a textbook definition. It's not Dr. Tim. Okay? Now, true loyalty, and there is a false loyalty, true loyalty goes beyond mere or obedience or self-interest. It is grounded in trust, respect, shared values, and a sense of duty. Y'all, I'll tell you, I have to stop. I don't want to run past this. I want you to get this. I want you to sit down and actually think about this. Because I asked a question, and I'll get to that. I asked a question on Facebook, and, very few people answered it. But the question lends to the attitude about how others treat us, and then I'll get to that in a minute. Now, how does loyalty manifest? It manifests as emotional fidelity, practical support, enduring solidarity, even in the face of adversity or temptation to defect. Now, let me break that down and make it so that we can get this. Loyalty is the finding of no fault in the person that you're being loyal to. To the point that whatever they ask you, you'll do. Whatever they ask you to do, you'll do. Whatever they say, you believe. If they're going on a certain path, and you might not necessarily agree with the direction, but you'll follow anyway. Wow. If they mistreat you, you always seek the better. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe something else is going on. There's always something at the bottom of it. These are all the things that loyal people think in their heads when it comes to the people that they're being loyal to. Now, I'm going to say something controversial. Okay? Many of us are loyal to people that really don't deserve it. Did y'all hear that? Many of us are loyal to people we don't deserve, that they'll deserve nothing you give them. But they said something or did something, and that tapped into that sense in you that says, you know what, I need to support this, whatever. And you do it. Such is the case with abused partners, both male and female. Okay? Such as the case with children. Children are just naturally loyal to their caregivers. And it is clear that children really need protection because we as adults know that somebody else deserves or doesn't deserve loyalty. But children will give it anyway. This is why Jesus called on the children. He said, suffer the little children to come. And don't forbid them. Why? Because that's the kingdom. What was in a child that made him think that God could rule inside them? The fact that they were loyal. Okay? And they're loyal toward anyone who will give them the attention. They don't understand whether the attention's good or bad. They just respond positively to the attention. Okay. Let me keep it moving. Now, what are the key elements of loyalty? One, fidelity. Fidelity is a word that says I'm going to remain true to my commitments and promises. So if you're part of any social group, there's likely a commitment that you make in the form of an obligation, a promise, or a recital that says the following things. I won't do anything to hurt the group. I won't do anything to hurt anybody in the group. I will not do anything that causes disdain or dirt or negative appearance or negative attitude in those outside of the group of this group. I will be on my best behavior so that as I represent this group, I will be known for my behavior which reflects positively on the group. Okay? Now, I say all those things to say this right here. In the context of relationships, we need to grab onto these principles because many of our relationships fail because we go into relationships without this or without the ability to detect when it's present or not present. Okay? Now, number 2, prioritization. The second thing that you'll find when a person's loyal to is they'll prioritize you over themselves. And it doesn't matter what situation it is. If you call someone in the middle of the night and they are in trouble, and you're in trouble, loyalty will make them get out of the bed without question. Just text me where you are. Just tell me where you are. Just tell me, I'll get to you, da-da-da-da-da. Okay? Now, many of us who are part of fraternal groups, we need to remember that. That in the light of all that's going on, the minute you make an obligation, take an obligation or make a promise to someone of any level, that's a permanent commitment. It's permanent. And you need to be about personifying it all the time. No excuses. Now, the third thing is persistence. A person who's loyal will always be looking after your best interest. There won't be a time when they're not looking after your best interest, even if it seems fake. Now, I want to caution you that being used to doing something doesn't necessarily mean that you're good in a respect. Okay? Now, I often say, and I'll say this at the beginning because we're going to talk about relationships. Okay? Here are some red flags. When a person tells you this is how I was raised, that's a red flag. Why is that a red flag, Dr. Tim? Well, it's a red flag for this reason. Why are you referencing where you came from? Just perform. Because telling a person that you've had the training is no indication of you being proficient at the skill. I'll say that again. Telling the person you had the training is no indication of you being proficient of the skill. You know it's an indication of your proficiency? You performing it. Cut and dry, point blank, period. Okay? Now, you're going to hear during the course of your dating life, you're going to hear people tell you, this is how I was raised. This is how I was trained. This is how my mama taught me. This is how we learned. This is how we grew up. Guess what? Those are red flags. No one needs to tell you how they were raised. They don't need to tell you any of that. What they need to do is they need to demonstrate that teaching is real in their lives. There's a passage of scripture that's important for us to remember. It says, the letter killeth, but it's the spirit that gives life. Now, what does that mean? That means that the words are dead. They only get life when they are personified. When they get in you and you start doing them. Okay? So, The fourth one is trustworthiness. Okay? A person who's trustworthy is a reliable and dependable ally. You can set your watch by a loyal person. Okay? A loyal person is likely disciplined. So at any point in the day or in the afternoon or whatever, you can pretty much tell what they're going to be doing because their loyalty is a disciplined thing. It's something that I do this because I love the thing. Like people who cook, people who really like cooking never complain about having to do it. Okay? Now, let me digress a little bit. Okay? In the course of human interaction, you're going to find that people will have a tendency to try to measure and weigh you and try to figure out what they think you want to hear and figure out what you think is important, and that's what they'll play on. So, which leads me to my next point. How does one develop loyalty? Okay? Loyalty is cultivated through a combination of relationships, experiences, and conscious choice. Some of these pathways look like this. Shared values and loyalty. You're part of the same group, come from the same hood, come from the same school, have a mutual acquaintance. You married in. Okay, some of the examples are nation, you're from the same place. Religious, you go to the same church, you have the same faith. Organizational, maybe you're part of a fraternity or sorority, maybe you're a part of a fraternal order, maybe you're part of some social group. Let me say it, you're probably a part of a gang. I'm gonna say that gangs are some of the most loyal people I've ever seen. Okay, they'll go down for another gang member, but guess what? That's on a whole nother frequency. Now, second thing that how you develop loyalty is reciprocal trust and respect. Now, you have to be in a relationship trusting someone to develop reciprocal trust. Reciprocity is what I give, I receive. Bible says what? Reaping and sowing. So, if I demonstrate trust to you, trust should come back to me. Not because I require it, but because part of the cycle is, if I do something for you, you appreciate what I do enough to give it back. And then because you gave it back, I'm going to give you some more. And then because I gave you some more, you give me back some more. And so you have this ever-recurring cycle, which is how marriage should be. Respect. Now, I'm going to turn this a little bit and help you to understand something. Respect is something you get by virtue of being on the planet. And some of these things we say got to change. You can't earn respect. You can't earn respect because the person you're trying to earn it from is not respectable. Usually it's not. Now, anybody that's requiring you to respect them, that you need to measure them with a long handled spoon. Respect is something that you get because you're human. Why? You all come from the same source. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what color you think you are. I don't care what nationality you're from. I don't care what part of the planet you think you're from. You could be from another part of the planet. The very fact that you are alive and you are a creation of the same creator, you respect is something you get. Now, how does this work? The more I associate with you, I learn to trust you. The trust is what you're earning. That you have to earn, no question about it. But respect is the basis by which you start to develop your trust, if that makes sense. Now, shared experiences. You go through the same trials, you go through the same victories, you go through the same situations, and you traverse different activities together, and these create loyalty, like being in the military, like being part of a fraternal order, like being part of a fraternity, a sorority, like being a part of the same school, like being on an athletic team. You learn by being and experiencing these things together, how to, there's a bond form, and loyalty is usually at the root of it. Okay? Investment and sacrifice. More time you put in, the more loyal you're going to become. Okay? And that's contingent. Okay? Now, you can have loyalty and the person you're loyal to don't have any. But does that stop you from being loyal? It shouldn't. Because you're going to be judged on your own merits. Okay? Now, ethical and moral choice. Now, there are some of us who, we make a conscious decision to do a particular thing. Like when you volunteer for the military, you make a conscious decision to defend the country. Okay? You become a police officer, you're supposed to make a conscious effort and a conscious desire to protect the citizens who are doing the right thing and not always look for somebody doing the wrong thing. That's not loyalty. That's being a mercenary. Anyway, keep moving on. Sometimes loyalty is a conscious decision based on a sense of duty, honor, or moral obligation, independent of personal gain. And the last one is cultural or social conditioning. Families, communities, and societies often instill norms of loyalty to kin, country, or leaders from a young age. Now, how does this work in terms of relationships? How do we, when we're getting in a dating situation, how do we pick out loyalty in a person? Okay. As you saw in the previous video, you made a conscious effort. You were there on time. You were there presentable. You didn't overrun the conversation. You were actually actively seeking to learn about the other person, which meant that as you talk, you listen. I mean, active listening, like shutting up. Don't interrupt the person when they're talking. And if you do by mistake, sometimes we get, get a little fluid and excuse yourself, pardon yourself. What manners are important in having a relationship situation. Now, loyalty, this is how you detect it. The first thing is how they talk about family members. Okay? If the subject of family comes up, it comes up with joy. Okay? Likely loyal people are the ones who are taking care of an elderly family member. Their mother, their grandmother, their aunt. Okay? Loyalty makes people relocate to take care of other people. Loyalty also, you'll notice that this person is principled when it comes to them talking to you. When they're in your presence, the phone is turned over on its face. I purposely do that with people. I purposely. If you're ever in a conversation with me, and I'll look at my phone and then I'll turn it over, and now you have my undivided attention. Now, guys, since women like to talk, and you're already quiet anyway, just sit there and let it roll. Let it roll, and just remember there are pauses in the action. Okay? So listen with this and this and this. Okay? Hear everything she's saying. You may not agree. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If he doesn't agree, wait till she, okay, so hold on. See? Hold on for a minute. You said on this point, give me some clarity. You see what I'm saying? That kind of situation can be both a learning experience for her and a moment, an eye-opening moment for you. Because most of us go into these relationships, go into these situations on a visual. Okay? On a visual and a 5-minute conversation clip. What do you mean 5-minute conversation? I mean, you talk to the person, yeah, I'm about this. Yeah, I'm about that. 5 minutes. If you take all of the quality words and condense it into one paragraph, it would probably last about 5 minutes. Okay? Now, remember, the loyalty first, how they talk about family members. 2, the kinds of things that they talk about that they went through before they met you. Now, in video 1, it said stay away from talking about exes. Well, you still need to stop talking about exes. Okay? Because they're ex for a reason. Okay? And if they're truly ex, then you're likely got a vague memory. I don't know if anybody, if this is you, put a 1 in the chat, in the response. You broke up with someone and you remember having a relationship, but you don't even remember their name. That says you got healed. That says you got healed. You had a real bad situation with someone, and the memory of that situation is so far gone that it's not even a trigger anymore. And that's because you've been healed. It is what it is. So if it's in the past, why are we even discussing it? It is not even an issue. Okay? Now, many people have talked themselves into getting ghosted because they talk too much about the ex. Now, there's a challenge in society now about men dating women with children and women dating men with children. Okay? Now, what that says is there's a disconnect when it comes to who I should be loyal to. And believe me, guys get super loyal real quick. So if he don't want to be bothered with you, you really need to do an examination. Okay? Conversely, women become distrustful on a two-line video clip. They'll become disloyal if they see a text message that's questionable. Y'all didn't hear what I said. Anyway, you're at the table with your date, you're at the table with this person, and they start talking, and they say things like, "This is not what I do." The minute they say that, they're setting themselves up to demonstrate how untruthful they are. I'm just saying it, okay? The way if you're at the third date stage, the way that should look is priming and shaping. Okay, so what is your view about this? See, you should be having intellectual conversations by the third time you get to the dating stage together. Yes, IQ testing pretty much is what should happen. Okay, I'm interested in science, particularly geography. Okay, have you ever been to Mount Rushmore? You know what I'm saying? Have you ever been to Mount Rushmore? Have you ever been to Mount McKinley? Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon? Have you ever been to New York City? Have you ever been to Philadelphia? You see, these kinds of things that, remember, you're trying to develop shared interests, shared experiences. Because the more of these you have, the closer and tighter you'll be for longer. Remember, the goal of getting involved in dating is not the quick fix. It's the long haul. Okay? If you want to be technical about it, the whole dating thing is about interviewing. You're interviewing somebody for the position of husband and wife. If you're not interviewing them for any other reason, you need to get up from the table. You know what I mean? If it's a girl and you're not thinking about having something long term with him, you're a parasite. Get up from the table and say, "Look, this is not what be truthful." But there's too many people right now that's in these situations on mercenary motives, and that needs to stop if we're going to have a halfway decent social structured relationships. Okay. So, number one, how they talk about their family members. Number two, the kinds of things they've done that demonstrate that they've made personal sacrifices. Okay. Now, does that mean that they're going to do that for you? No, it doesn't mean it at all. But it does mean they have a history of sacrifice. Now, if you're smart and you hear that, how'd that make you feel? See? Because the attitude about the act is very, very important. If you're going to do something for me because you want to do it for me. Don't do it for me out of duress, out of pressure, out of coercion. Don't do any of that. Do it because you think I'm a good person to do this for, and you want to do something for somebody, and I'm a prime candidate. I often tell guys about a guy who, when he met his wife, he said, "You know what I love about her? I love about her is that when she told me she wanted to be a wife, more specifically, she said she wanted to be my wife. And every day, I see her making strides towards making things the kind of wife that would satisfy any man." See? And that speaks volumes, okay? Because if somebody doesn't want to be something for you, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to change it. And if you do try, you're going to border on manipulation, duress, pressure, and coercion. You don't want that in your situation. You want everything to be mutual. You want it all to be free will. I'm making a decision to join with you. That's number 3. They make decisions to have relationships. They don't make choices. What did I say? There is a marked difference between a decision and a choice. A decision is the declaration to do it. Choices are how you're going to get it done. So if you're still in choice stage, you're still immature. Okay? You are still dependent, hopefully dependent on someone else. Okay? So with all these women that say, oh, I'm independent. Okay, so why do you provide for your kids? Oh, because they're my responsibility. That's not the reason you should provide for your kids. If we got to put it on the list, it's down toward the bottom. Here's the reason you should provide for your kids: because you love them. You love them and you want them to have the best. That's the only reason you should be providing for your children. And that means that you're going to make sure they get a proper education. That means you're going to expose them to proper things. That means you're going to give them the best experiences they have. And when discipline comes, you're going to be sharp and you're going to be accurate and you're going to be gracious so that they learn the lesson that's supposed to be learned from it. But every time somebody opens their mouth and tells you about responsibility and tells you about, listen, they do not love the person they're doing it for. And I challenge anybody to say anything different. When you make a declaration to be something for someone, okay, it should be based on what you want to do, not based on what they're doing or who they are. Now, who they are and what they're doing can hinder how you deliver it. And it also tells you that you may have to back away from that person because what you're doing for them is not helping them. And recognize that. Sometimes we're doing things for people and it's not helping them. Okay? So, in trying to detect loyalty or disloyalty, the first thing is the family. The second thing is the experiences they went through. And the third, of course, is the idea of why they do what they do. Okay? Now, in the course of conversation, if the X's come up, if a person mentions to you that I just wasn't happy with them, that is a red flag. Because they still dependent on other people for happiness. That's a red flag. You are never going to be able to fulfill that. Just say it. I'm just going to tell you that. Okay? Until they get in the frame of mind that they found something in themselves that makes them happy, and that's what they want to present to you, you are going to be constantly under scrutiny. They're going to be checking your phones. They're going to be checking your emails. They're going to be monitoring your friendships, looking at the guys you hang out with. If it's a guy, looking at the girls you hang out with. If it's a girl, and they're going to be restricting your freedoms. Okay? So, be careful of that. Loyalty says, you are who you are. The more I know about you, the more I have to make a decision to accept what I see. And accept it. Don't try to change it so that it's palpable. If they say something that's sharp and you don't like it, say you don't like it. Say you don't like it. And then measure it if it's a deal breaker or not. Okay? Because once you're in the relationship, there's some things that's not negotiable. Okay? If the relationship is going to survive, then you got to have loyalty from both sides. Going to have to be mutual respect and mutual trust. And if I can't tell you that something you did was offensive to me, you are not loyal to me. Because remember something, sometimes I'm going to have to change the way I talk in order that you can have some comfort. Does it mean that I'm manipulated? No, it just means that there's some things that I can say that I know hurt you. Okay? Now, the last one is, if you make a reference to something they're doing right in front of you, and they defend it with tooth and nail and insult, they're not ever going to be loyal to you. I don't care what you do. So, remember this, and as I wrap this up, loyalty you develop in yourself. Okay? If you expect it from someone, then it's not loyalty. You give loyalty because that's what you want to do. It's because you feel that person is the person to do it for. And it's because it's something that brings you joy to do. This is Dr. Tim. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you again in the next episode.